Welcome to No Borders with Brian and Carrie. What we are discussing today is slow traveling on a budget and some of the ways that you can do that.
Yeah, how does this all work? We're going to go through all the ways that we make this work for us. Hopefully you'll pick up some tricks and some tips along the way.
So, since we all know inflation is happening right now, it is happening all over the world and kind of at a really fast pace. And so I think it's even more important now to find those ways that you can be saving money while you're slow traveling. So now, what are some of these ways that we can keep our costs down?
Well, accommodations. That's the biggest cost you're going to come across is your accommodations. The longer you stay, the more potential you have to lower that stay. Now, we have decided to up our stay, up our
speed a little bit.
Speed a little bit. Thank you. I stuttered a little bit there. To up our speed a little bit. So this doesn't come into play for us anymore. But it did. We would stay for a month at a time when we get a discount. If you stay for 2 months, 3 months, by that time, you can usually get off any platform and go straight to the owner and maybe get a reduced rate if you're staying longer term. It's not something we've chosen to do, but there's reasons behind that as well.
Well, yeah, for us, one of those huge reasons is because we do this. We YouTube, right? A lot of people choose slow travel because they want to go and stay in areas. Maybe you don't want to permanently set down roots in an area, but you want to stay. We've met so many people that stay 3 months in a location. By staying that 3 months in a location, we've heard some of the rent that these people are paying because you're now off of those booking platforms and you're dealing, like Brian said, with the owner. And so then you are negotiating a price that is more in line with what locals are paying.
Right.
And so it's considerably lower. So what a way to save money on accommodations.
Maybe we'll get there at some point, but we'll see.
Another big area where this saves you is your reduced transportation costs. When you are not moving from one location to the next location on an every weekly basis, every few day basis, or even every 2 week basis, it really saves you.
It can add up a lot quicker than you might think. $50 here for this bus ticket, and 2 weeks later you pay another $30 for another bus ticket, and 2 weeks later, you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Over time, it does add up, and we've kind of found that we not only upped our accommodation costs because we're moving around more, but we are paying more for those bus tickets. Now, fortunately, here in Mexico, those bus tickets haven't been too extreme. But it does add up. It
really does, because we look at a monthly budget. And so when all of a sudden you've taken, say, 3 buses in 1 month, and that's 2 tickets for a couple, and you've got now a bill of maybe even $300, $250 just for buses. That's a lot of money, and that's money that you could have just wiped away and not had to spend if you stay in one location. There's also the advantage if you stay in some of these locations longer term that you get a discount for the long-term usage passes on transportation. We saw that in Budapest.
Yeah, we saw that also in Turkey. Yeah. They
really have it everywhere. We just are never using the transportation that much as far as in the city, but it was incredibly affordable to get that just 1 month pass, and then you're just able to hop on and off all of that transportation.
Yeah, and you mentioned, we have a monthly budget, but we also have a yearly budget, so we will have to adapt and change some things throughout the course of our entire year to make all this line up.
Well, yeah, and we're talking right here about buses. There's a lot of people that aren't just hopping a bus, they're hopping a flight to the next location. And so you really have to work all that in and think about how much do you want to spend, because I know we've looked at sometimes our path and we'll be like, oh, okay, it would be really cool, wow, we're close to this place, let's hop there. A good example would be, and we did do it because the cost of living otherwise was so low, was Koh Samui. Getting out to Koh Samui in Thailand is not inexpensive, and there's only one airline that flies out there, Bangkok Airlines, I believe it is.
It's a monopoly.
And yeah, and so they've got you. If you want to go, you're going to pay whatever their price is. Well, I think that round trip for each of us, we ended up paying probably around about $250 to $300 just to get on and off the island, and we were only there for a month. So you have to work that into your monthly expenses. Like I said, it was worth it for us because our accommodations were less, but
we'll make the adjustment. Now, some of you may not have this ability, but Carrie's a great cook. So we do save money by going to the grocery stores, buying our meals, cooking our meals at home, and then we might get 2 or 3 nights out of one grocery shop. dinners, lunches, sometimes it all rolls over. We have leftovers, but that's a great way of saving money rather than eating out all the time. Now there's food trucks out there that you can go to, and you can get your tacos. We're in Mexico right now, or if you're in Thailand, you can go get your Thai food. Those things don't cost very much, no, but if you do it 2 or 3 times a day, it can add up.
Yeah, and you know, this very much varies by the location that you're in. You know, in Thailand, it was just cheaper to eat out than it was to cook in, so we really didn't cook in. But here in Mexico, it's, you know, now in the place that we are now, because we did find a grocery store that had pretty affordable groceries, and it was a big store, we were able to go and just kind of get a lot of stuff and make meals at home, which is the first time we've done that in going on 2 months.
We kind of missed that.
We
miss doing that.
You know, I think what we miss is we miss in the evening where all of a sudden it's like, I don't want to go out and go get food out. You know, to some people that may sound so strange because they love eating out. It's not our norm anyways. And so when you have to go eat out because there's not the availability of as many grocery stores, then it kind of becomes a pain, I guess.
Right, it does become a pain. It becomes a real pain because you have to get up and go someplace, whereas you can just go in and cook dinner, and it does make things easier. And it's more affordable. Yeah,
way more affordable. You know, when we look at the end of a month, especially if we're in a town, or a good example would be when you are moving faster, you don't have the ability to have those kitchens and buy that groceries, because whatever you're buying, you have to use in that period of time. When we're in a place for a month, at least long stay, which is the case now, we can go and stock up on things.
Stock up on limes and tequila. Those margaritas I make at home are way less expensive than the ones down the road at the bar. You know, it's just they're $5, $6 each.
Yeah,
at home I can make them for a fraction.
So there
of that.
you go, and your beers at home cost less too.
Yes.
So yeah, that is an area where you can absolutely save a lot of money. Choose to eat in more often than not, and then absolutely still enjoy the local foods, but at a more minimal time. Saving on activities and entertainment is another thing you will be able to take advantage of when you slow your travel down. When you're in a location for a longer period of time, you then find out all those things that are going on while you're there, from concerts in the park or just festivals that are going on, where if you're moving quickly, you're not going to find those. Well, the benefit of those things are they're free usually.
Right, and you know, it's Saturday and Sunday everywhere you go in the world. If you're not there for the weekend, you might miss out on something. And if you're going someplace for 3 days and it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you might miss out on the weekend festivities, because always something going on the weekend, no matter where you go. Cool thing about being in Mexico this time of year, when we're here right now, is we're going to be here for the Day of the Dead. And that's super exciting for us, because we didn't plan that. We kind of forgot about that until after we booked all of our accommodations. So that's something that if we were only here for a few days, we had missed.
Right. And then the other thing, in some of the towns, almost all towns, seem to have a free day that there might be like big attractions to go to that, you know, they can cost from a minimal amount to a very high amount, but there's usually 1 day a week or 1 day a month that they are free. And so that has been a money savings as well. You may end up hitting a little bit more of the crowds, but not really if you are maybe there in off season.
Yeah, we were in Puebla and we went to the underground tunnels on a Tuesday because it was free. Now, we didn't go because it was free.
We didn't even know it was free.
We didn't even know it was free, but it was free Tuesday. So we saved a little bit of money and and there was nobody there. We were the only ones there. So that was pretty cool. But there are things like that all the time. Wednesday's free, Thursday's free. It's usually in the middle of the week, but it's something to take advantage of.
The other thing that we find when we're in a location for a longer period of time, we have that extra time to just go wander around and find those kind of local elements that you may not have found otherwise if you were rushing through. You know, if you arrive at a place and you only have a couple days or even a week, do you really have enough time to just go wander around? You find the local parks or the free walking tours or just all those other things that cost you nothing to do, but if you're rushing through, you're not going to see them.
Well, I can think of 2 great examples on that. Budapest, when we went to the Central Park there and found our little a pub, our little watering hole right in the middle of the park. It's a beautiful park. We loved it. We walked there almost every other day. You know, and then in Fethiye, Turkey, my long walks to the beach and back, I did that daily.
Yeah.
And you don't do that if you're only someplace for 3 or 4 nights.
Yeah, and those are just all free to do. And so having that extra time to just kind of go explore and find those things. A lot of them we stumble across. It's not because we're seeking them out. You just stumble across them, find them, and I don't know, just a huge benefit of being
really
in
cool
place.
rooftop bar you might find if you're just out walking around because you have time to do it. I think one of the biggest money-saving things you can possibly do is get out of that summertime tourist season. Get in that off season, go on the shoulders, go in the winter time. You're going to have a great time and you're going to save a lot of money.
Well, and this is something that we, no matter what kind of travel we are doing typically, we are looking at places that we can go that aren't the peak tourist season.
Right.
We don't like the crowds. We don't typically like the really, really hot heat, which is what a lot of time you get. You know, so there's a benefit of that. But yeah, boy, what a money saving though.
Yeah, it really is. Now we're home during the Christmas holidays, so you know it'd be great to go to the Christmas markets in Germany and Poland and in Central and Western Europe. That's going to be expensive. We're going to be able to do that. We would love to go to Switzerland in the middle of the winter and go to a ski lodge. Even though we don't ski, it'd be fun to watch, right? Those things cost money that time of year. You know, Western Europe is expensive no matter when you go, but especially in the summertime. So we're home for half the summer, you know, usually. So those things save us money throughout the course of the entire year.
Now this also would open up that opportunity for us to then go to some of those places though that are out of reach otherwise during that off-peak time. You know, you can go to, say, like you were mentioning, Switzerland. Maybe we'll see Switzerland in the summertime,
right.
You know, which is also kind of not peak necessarily, but it is still high season. But find those just off times. The weather is still decent, you won't have the crowds, and accommodation costs are way lower.
Yeah, well, we're in Mexico right now in October. We're in Oaxaca, and Oaxaca is a really cool place to visit. Great food, great culture, great people. Well, we weren't overcrowded at all. No. There were a lot of vacancies. It was easy to get around, a lot of taxi cabs to take us wherever we needed to go. So that's a good example of being someplace that's really cool to go in the off season.
Yeah, and one of the notes I would make about, say, an off season visiting during those times is, for instance, when we were in Mexico City, and it rained every day. Now, some of the days it did rain longer. A couple days it rained the entire day. But usually it didn't start until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it would just downright downpour.
Right.
And you know, we just kind of knew the schedule. We could get out earlier in the day if we wanted to, and then we were home in the evening time. Now, if you're somebody that's in a place, because we've talked about this often, and you are there for just a few days or a week, you are looking outside going, well, we just got to brave it and get out in this rain, and it's going to be kind of miserable and not fun. We've had to do it before.
We've had to do it
when
before.
we were moving faster.
Right.
And, you know, but for us, because we were in Mexico City for 2 weeks, we were able to just go, okay, it's kind of a crappy day today. We're just going to work today.
Right.
We're just going to kind of have a down chill day. There's not that pressure.
Right, we just wait until tomorrow.
Yeah. So, you know, go to those go during off-peak time, but make sure you're allowing yourself that extra time just in case the weather isn't perfect.
Long-term travel also gives you the ability to do house sits, or if you have a home base back home, house swaps is becoming very, very popular as well. If you're long-term traveling, you can kind of figure those into your stays down the road. You can book them ahead of time and just be gone.
Yeah, if you're moving faster, it becomes harder to be able to do that because it's like, oh, we're only in a place for 4 days. You can maybe find a sit during that. It's gonna be a lot harder to arrange those. If you are, say, slow traveling and in a location you're willing to stay in a place for a month, the likelihood of finding a sit, even if it's for 2.5 weeks, you're going to be able to fill your time a lot more with doing that house sitting. To me, that is, and I know we've mentioned it before with house sitting, but for us, we see it as such a major way to be able to save money while you are traveling. Like we mentioned at the very beginning, accommodations are your #1 biggest cost that you have all year. And being able to cut out some of those accommodation costs is huge.
Right. You know, we get asked, you know, how do you line up your house sits back to back to back? We don't. We just do 1 or 2 for a couple of weeks, which cuts that rent for that month in half. maybe in a third, because those other 2 weeks you might be staying someplace that costs a little bit more, but it does save you money. And we've had several people talk to us about house swapping that they do, and so that's an option. Obviously, we don't have that option, but you might.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend, if you've never looked into house sitting before, we do have the link down below. It's really fun to just go in and see what is actually available. The places we've stayed at and the places we look to stay at are way nicer than anything that we would get as an accommodation.
That's a side
for
bonus.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, when you are slow traveling, you also have a lot of opportunity to build up all of those loyalty points and just those bonuses that you get by booking. The longer the stay that we've had in places, it seems like we get better bonuses through some of the booking companies, say Expedia or Booking.com. We reach different levels. You know, on Expedia, we earn free stays or just money off, and the bottle of wine that we got.
We got a bottle of wine.
Yeah, at this last day we were at, when you you get into VIP status, and then you get like free upgrades, and you get a free bottle of wine, and so there's a lot of just those bonuses that come along with it as well. So when you're doing all of your stays, and like I said, when we stay longer, we seem to see those bonus points come in a little bit faster.
So we're VIP now. It's very
special.
intelligent people.
I think that's what it stands for.
Yeah. Okay. Now this next one is kind of interesting to me. There are times, you know, we feel like when we're renting these short-term rentals, they're kind of frowned upon in a lot of places. If you can get away from doing that entirely, it may be an advantage to both you and the community you're in, and that is volunteering your time or doing some work exchange for your accommodations. You're giving back. Now, we haven't done this yet, but we met a couple in San Miguel that he was doing that all over the world, and that's where he met his wife doing that. So it's a great story. Yeah. Very cool people. So that's something that you might want to look into as well.
Yeah, and I think that this is another thing that comes with slow travel, is that you have the ability to somewhat ingrain yourself into a community, figure out those volunteering opportunities, a way to give back to that community, which is a lot more challenging to do when you are quickly moving through and, you know, not being able to actually, I don't know, it would be really hard to find things, because people have asked us that, like, well, have you done this, have you done that? Well, when we're moving very quickly, it's very hard to even find those things to get involved in.
You're too busy researching where you're going next and where you're staying next to be researching this. So it does give you that opportunity. It is something that it'd be kind of fun to do. It'd be more of an adventure to do something like that. Give me an opportunity to get my hands dirty.
Yeah. Well, and that,
which I need.
get your
my hands are like super soft.
So I do think that this work exchange would be a great way to save some money. One thing we will point out is when you do look at doing a work exchange or something, this is an area you would want to make sure what kind of visa you are on when you're entering the country going into, because then that might be considered a work visa, because you are getting something in exchange for the work that you are doing.
Right, and we'll back up just a little bit and say that also goes for a house swap or a house sit. Make sure you check that visa. The visa that you might have to purchase to be able to do that is going to be less than the accommodations. So keep that in mind as well.
Now, slow traveling also offers you the ability to build a more healthy lifestyle, have some of those routines, and you may ask yourself or ask me, how does this save me money? Well, in the long term, having less stress in your life, being able to eat healthier because you're cooking in, all of those things health-wise definitely pay off. You may be paying more down the road because you didn't treat yourself very well.
Yeah, medical costs are expensive from what I hear, especially in the United States. Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, you get yourself into a routine. If we're moving fast, which I've mentioned we've done before, we're not eating as well. We might be walking more. Well, I don't think we're walking more. We're doing our walking still, but we're not doing our exercises the way we would if we're planted in one spot for a period of time.
Really what this all comes down to is, you know, you want to save money, you want to stay on the road, but ultimately, by living a life on the road that is just better all around, it is going to enhance the entire experience for you and make it so much more enjoyable.
Make sure you get ingrained with the community you're in, have a good time, but don't blow your budget.
Yeah, you want to stay on the road.
That's the key.
All right, well, we hope you found this interesting. If you'd like to follow us on other social networks, you can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at Brian and Carrie, and then also on our website, which is brianandcarrietravels.com, where we have some free resources for you just to keep you on the road, keep you traveling, make things go a lot smoother.
Just make things easier on you. There's links below. Check them out. Thank you for watching. We very much appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.